Science fiction is one of the greatest genres. Anything can happen in science fiction. A long-haired scientist could sell out the human race to bang a hot alien. A Frenchman could make a great leader, and Joss Whedon could write something without a musical episode. It truly is the greatest genre. Iconic science fiction media of the past dared to ask the questions, what if the aliens were hot? Or what if we had giant robots and everyone had daddy issues? Or how much Star Wars do we really need before we all stop caring? So many years ago, some brave pioneers took the incredible scope of sci-fi and mashed it with the endless adventure of the MMO, and we got Anarchy Online, one of the first sci-fi MMOs, and it's still online today. So let's take to the stars and see if it's any good. Welcome, I'm Josh Strife-Hayes, and this is Worst MMO Ever, a series where I play every MMO I can find in a journey to find the worst. Drop a like on the video or sub to the channel for more MMO stuff. Ring the bell for all the future notifications, and as always, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. More information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Download, sign up, and please, for the love of Ron Hubbard, stop taking my username in games. Intro movie plays and it's setting the sci-fi scene. Now choose a race or breed. You have space human, space elf, space goth, and space ogre. Some of these guys do look like they're going to a Matrix-themed party and had to buy an outfit from a charity shop at the last minute, and you then have to pick a profession. Now every race and class plays very differently, but the game doesn't explain this to you, so I made a short, fat martial artist. Say hello to Steven Sci-Fi-Gull. Welcome to the planet of Rubikar. We are immediately greeted with an in-game cash shop pop-up and then a daily login bonus, which despite being shown to everyone is only actually available to subscribed members. We then get some more pop-ups explaining how to move, interact, reply to private messages, and most of the game is explained through a giant text dump. We are outside on a spaceport. Explosions and fire. The local NPC Rex says we need an ID card to escape this place, and my god, if only I knew the absolute mission getting this card would be, I'd have probably just thrown myself into the fire. Rex needs us to kill some malfunctioning cleaning robots, so we're given a mission, or quest. You just right-click the mission in the mission list and choose Upload to Map, which places a marker on our mini-map, which itself looks like a drunk Etch-a-Sketch. You have a local map and a planetary map. So we're off to punch a Roomba to death. Behold, combat. So let's rip this band-aid off straight away. Anarchy Online is an old game. The UI, the animations, the combat systems, the endless text boxes and menus and excessive amounts of skills and behind-the-scenes numbers you need to level up to equip even the most basic of items. I know Anarchy Online players will hate me for saying that it's just a sci-fi EverQuest, but I'm going to say that. It's just a sci-fi EverQuest, and they can both email me with their complaints. For real though, I'm going to be very harsh to this game because people keep telling me how great their experience with it is, and they need to understand that new players, I've said this before, cannot play through their memories. We must judge things as they are now, based off the hype we have had set for us. I even found a post on the Anarchy Online subreddit asking, did they improve the solo ability of this game? And the top answer really sums up the vibe that Anarchy wants to give. You have to form a group and play it like an RPG. The game is best played with AO Sharp, a multi-box game where you can learn .NET framework, and the automation and multiple account management that needs. Anarchy Online comes from the period where MMOs were virtual hangout hubs first and a game second. They provide challenging experiences designed to be taken on with a group, and deep customization, which is so deep it's overwhelming for new players, or people used to modern MMORPGs. And I want to take a moment to push back against the "it's so deep" argument everyone keeps making. The systems are so deep, the combat is so deep, the group composition is so deep. The Mariana Trench is deeper than the Center Park's water park, but I know which one I'd rather spend a weekend at and which one is more fun to get into quickly. Depth and complexity is an aspect of systems, one aspect. Other aspects include ease of access, early game impact, readability, respecking, visual overhauls, mechanical impact, and the constant fallback on, well, it gets so deep as a positive when the depth is obscured by the terrible onboarding that a regular player will never get to see it, simply can't continue. If the depth of systems is a vital and impressive part of your game and you're using it in marketing, then front load it and be excited to show its impact early on to new players. Don't gatekeep it behind hundreds of hours of grind that most people will never do. Move around WASD. Holding right click moves the camera and character together, holding left click moves the camera independently. We've seen this before, but the character model remains locked to whichever way it was facing if you did move the camera independently, and now moves in respect to its own heading, which does take a bit of getting used to. You can zoom in and play in first person for real sci-fi immersion. I then find a long stick and some shades, and Steven Seagal is ready to Aikido his way to sci-fi glory. Rex says thanks and sends us to Marcus. Marcus says he'll give us an ID card if we can extinguish some fires. Left left-click the extinguisher in your inventory, then click on the fire. Be careful not to click the container the fire is on, because then you'll try to put the extinguisher into the container. Marcus then gives us the optional quest of healing some injured workers, which I do. I like optional quests, but there is an odd interaction here. To use an item on the environment, like the fire, you have to click on the item in your inventory and then the environment. But that doesn't work for NPCs. To do that, you must target the NPC and then right-click the item in your inventory. I've also leveled up. A nice flashing icon tells me that. I have 5,500 IP points to put into many skills. From one-handed or two-handed weapon skills to computer literacy to psychology. This is the depth I was talking about, but as a new player, I just click suggested distribution. Why bother engaging with systems when the game can do it for you? Now Flint Novak needs us to find a biocomputer by killing some broken worker robots, and I like how the garbage flea eats the corpse of a dead enemy. That is a lovely touch. Kill some more stuff and end up fighting this boss robot cleaner, which looks like Matilda from Robot Wars. Clearly she fell on hard times after breaking up with Sir Killalot. I've also found a red bra and a muffin weapon. Truly, Steven Seagal is in his element. More quests. Give a computer bit to Alex and he sends me to Old Bill, but first we must hack a security drone, so use your minimap to find the tiny white X, wave to Barry the food vendor as you go, then right-click the droid and hack it by giving it the hacking tool and politely asking it to stick it inside itself. I then meet a group of people all protesting numbers lower than 3, apparently. Clearly they did not like the Oblivion remake. Then we chat with Immigration Officer Bill and discover the secret intel we uncovered by hacking the drone. Remember, we're doing all this to forge an ID card and leave this place. For a game called Anarchy Online, we sure do start off working for the man to get all our documents and papers in order. We crashed on a spaceport and instantly went, best help the local bureaucracy. That's the opposite of anarchy. We're then sent to kill this mobster because if we didn't, they were going to go around and murder people, and we can't have people going around murdering people. Anyway, after we've gone around and murdered people, I'm suddenly very aware of how much my character's butt wiggles. Steven Seagal isn't just bringing the cake, he is the whole bakery. We now learn about trade skills. Shift-T brings up this combination window. Combine items to make other items, however, you must place the initial items in the correct side. While A plus B may equal C, B plus A does not. I fail to create this basic robot brain because I need 9 in another electrical skill, so I level it up, make the thing, and then cannot wear it because I require a computer literacy skill of 30. I cannot put something on my shoulder because I don't know how computers work. Stan then wants us to go and steal something, and in return will give us an ID card, so we search for a machine which sells lockpicks, and then I meet Patrick. I think there's some sort of boxing pun going on here, possibly multi-boxing. He's got a box on his head, wearing boxing gloves and boxer's underwear. Also, his t-shirt says Froob, with zeros for the O's. I've said before that given a long enough timeline, MMORPG games stop taking themselves seriously and start to put in little jokes which the long-term community can appreciate, because they've had years to immerse themselves in the aesthetic of the game, and a small joke won't remove from the epic sci-fi story they've known and loved. But a brand new player, this joke character is now a major part of their early experience and makes the game's setting feel a bit goofy. I have said before, if you start to use your game as a container for jokes, by the time there are too many jokes in it, the game itself becomes a giant joke. Patrick is the death tutorial. You set your respawn point here and he kills you. I buy some armor, but I can't find a way to cross-reference what I'm hovering over with what I'm currently wearing and compare. And as each item has a lot of stats on it, this is quite the comparison. I also get a belt, but I'm not smart enough to equip it. If you give a new player a belt in the tutorial and then say, but you're too dumb to know how to wear it, I'm going to assume my character needs a soft helmet and a full-time carer. I'm meant to be a martial artist, a thing with a somewhat strong connection toward belts. What have I been doing, just skipping with them the whole time? I then get told about stealth. Go into stealth mode by pressing H. H for, hey, we need to go into stealth mode. Sneak through this stealth tutorial section, which is 2 rooms with literally no one in them and no way to ever actually be spotted, completely negating the need for stealth. Use the lockpick on a chest, get an item, bring all the items to Sarah the shopkeeper, but she's had her prototype nanotech suit stolen and we need to go and get it back. So into the underground we go. Nice touch how you can see the enemies below through the grates on the floor. Love me some vertical design in games. Run on down, take on too many enemies at once, level up just as my health runs out, so I do a celebratory backflip, then instantly die. We respawn and oh, fun. You don't respawn on full health. There are a few ways to recover health. Use the healing items we've got, which are either slow or I don't meet one of the multiple proficiency requirements to use them, despite being given them in the tutorial specifically to be used here, or use your Nano Skills, which I don't have yet, or sit down, which recovers it very, very slowly. So Steven Seagal has a nice little sit down, throws on some songs from the Crystal Cave, which was an actual jazz album that he once released, and contemplates the punani as he catches his breath. Seriously, go and listen to Strut. It is an experience. Important design choice with sitting down. You must click the action button, then general, then sit. While sitting, if you press W, A, S, or D to move, you will not move. You won't even begin the animation of getting back up. You must click stand first to cancel the sit. Even if you get attacked while sitting, you must click stand before you can start the process of fighting back. I then go on a little side quest to learn about nano programs, basically skills or sci-fi magic. I buy a collection of nano programs designed specifically for the martial artist, open the pack and can't use any of them except the utility skill boosting one. So I throw some IP points into nano skill, target myself, apply the boost, and the text box says, "Attribute boost is terminated." Now I thought this meant the passive buff was cancelled, but no, it's actually applied. It's just overwritten the previous one, which was itself, so it says that. We find the stolen nano suit on this guy and hack it out of him by hacking his face with my fists until he dies, then hack his corpse by searching it. Then Vernon teaches us how to hack using the hacker tool to hack the Omni tech, which itself is more uses of the trade skill window combinations. I learn a heal over time skill, get sent to hack some cargo manifests, hack the ever-loving hack out of them, then talk to a doctor to get the DNA imprinted on the ID chip, I assume by some kind of hacking. Shift-click this floating question mark and now learn about implants, and my god, the depth is terrific, but the onboarding is overwhelming and terrible. You have 13 different body parts like head, torso, left arm, right arm, shoulders, knees and toes, and each of them can have an implant on it. And then each specific implant can be linked to a specific skill, such as agility, strength, or hacking. And then there are 3 types of each implant: shining, bright, and faded. So we are tasked with making a leg implant for agility with a shining cluster. To do this, you need to browse the shops. Our quick shop issue: clicking on a shop brings up the shop interface. Clicking on another shop while the interface is open says, nope, you're already in a shop. It doesn't close it for you. You have to manually close and then open the next shop. So we browse the implants. One vending machine sells a basic leg implant, then another machine sells the agility cluster shiny, but there's no search function, so just scroll through everything until you find what you need. Now to build the implant, and this ended in a rather unfun issue. Use the trade skill window again to combine the leg implant with the agility shiny cluster. But as my inventory is full before I do this, the completed thing doesn't go into one of the 2 slots which is now available, it goes into my overflow item window. I don't notice this. I then try to trade the item to the quest giver to complete it, but silly me, the item is still in the overflow window. All I need to do is open the overflow window, move it to my regular inventory, now I have space, and then trade it over. So how do you manually open the item overflow window? You can't. You just straight up can't. If an important item is placed into the overflow window and you close that window, tough. But don't worry, I found a guide on how to force the game to open it, which involves filling your inventory up completely, opening a shop, attempting to sell an item to the shop while also buying 2 items, which forces the overflow window again. Oh, it's such a deep game! Admire the deep mechanics, like having to exploit the game's code to open an inventory window you can lose vital things in. Use the surgery machine to stick our new agility legs on, and now we're running like we've just hacked a case of power thirst into our face. Admire the speed gains, an entire 0% faster. Our quest to leave this place now takes us to bartender Laurelie, who wants us to go and find their pet bird. They ran into the eastern desert. We get given a cookie to lure them back with. I leave the safety of the spaceport and jump into the eastern desert, then a roll cat even attacks me, and if I run back, a guard shoots it. So yes, it's just EverQuest with guns. Running into the desert, I know I've been very critical of Anarchy Online so far, and if you've got this far into the video, you probably think I dislike the game, but I do like 2 aspects. Anarchy Online has 2 overwhelmingly fantastic bits of construction. The first is the music. This game sounds amazing. Sweeping orchestral scores, funky jazz, ambient sci-fi spaceport streets, or machinery whirring in the background with the mix of modern techno. The soundtrack to Anarchy Online is probably one of the best video game soundtracks ever. Not just MMOs, all of gaming. This is top tier. The second thing Anarchy Online does fantastically, and you don't really experience this until about 15 hours in, is overall vibes. atmosphere, ambience, the feeling of just being in the world. The soundtrack is carrying a lot of this, yes, but the buildings, the NPCs, the little interactions like enemies eating the corpses of others, ships flying around in the sky, landing at spaceports, merchants moving carts, the impossible sci-fi architecture of the cities, the lovely variety in the color palette. Anarchy Online is a genuinely nice vibe to exist in. From the deserts to the sewers to the spaceport to the massive megacities, the world of Rubicon feels brilliant. Gameplay and moment-to-moment mechanics, this is clunky and overwhelming, but the overall vibes of just existing within Anarchy Online, they are phenomenally good. Unfortunately, whenever you log in, the cash shop is thrust into your face, so let's take a look. You can purchase mastery canisters for all of the major skills for only 300 Funcom coins, which give massive temporary boosts, so there's no point training really. And you can also purchase a level 200 instant boost for only 3,000 coins, so leveling is optional. You know, the whole focus of the game, skip it, why not? I check how much Funcom points cost, and wouldn't you know it, every coin pack is just slightly less than what you'd need to get anything good, so you're forced to buy the larger pack, which itself is just slightly lower than the next good thing. Abusive pricing, we've seen it before. Nice one, Funcom. I expected nothing less. So now I know you can pay to skip the leveling and get to the good bit, and then just buy mastery and always be good at whatever you need to be good at. I'm left asking, why am I playing the game? There's no one else low level, I can't team up, I'm grinding for the sake of grinding, but I'm here now, so let's continue. I sit down to rest and forget to stand back up. I wonder if you can do other emotes while sat down. Turns out, yes, you can. You can scratch your ass. Or try to do a sitting backflip, which becomes this kind of sideways flail thing. God, look at the athleticism! It's like you're really watching Steven Seagal. There truly is no beginning to this man's talents. We find the lost bird pet in the desert, attack it, get attacked by another bird, and then die. So I return and try again. I give the cookie to the bird to catch her, and then return to the bartender. Jumping in the water also has a graphical issue where you're snapped back to the floor after the apex of the jump, don't know why. Can't quite remember where the bartender is, but there's a handy-dandy yellow dot on the compass pointing to your current quest objective. You can only have one active quest at a time, and now a really dumb bit. I trade with the bartender to complete her quest, which is get the bird back, and I give her the pet bird, and she says, "I don't want this." What do you mean you don't want this? This is your pet bird you sent me to get. I'm giving it back to you. Well, it turns out you have to open your trade skill combination window, combine the bird that you've got with the cage the bartender gave you to make caged bird, then give her the caged bird. She does want her pet back, but only in caged form. With all this done, we finally get a fully made ID card and can leave the starting area, but just like pre-searing Ascalon in Guild Wars 1, once you leave, you can never return. I don't know why, it's a sci-fi game with a spaceport. We could just fly back, but okay, let's go to the real game. We're welcomed by a greeting committee and some arrow banners, and just out the gate we meet Natalia, who had her handbag stolen by a thief. He ran into the subway, so I agree to help. This hub zone has all the usual sci-fi tropes. A holodeck, a garden plaza, a line of identical-looking pirouetting white-suited bald men all called Chewies something. Look, if you're a long-time player, this probably makes a lot of sense to you somehow, but a new player has just left the tutorial and sees this. They don't think, oh, what whimsy. They think, well, I guess this game is a container for wacky jokes and oddball moments now. Our handbag recovery mission sends us into the subway. Briefly chat to this BDSM-looking Borg player, then in we go. To the subway, not the Borg. I'll do that later. I tried to resist, but it was futile. We need to remember that old MMORPGs were social hangouts with novel, at the time, exciting social interaction features. They filled that niche before social media or Discord. Now, those features aren't novel, so they have to stand on their mechanical strengths alone, and Anarchy Online, well, I just hope you enjoy the subway, because you're going to be here a while. I see a few guilds in the main chat recruiting, so I think, okay, I'll join a guild, get some advice, learn from an expert, so I apply for a few. The Rimmer Alliance, but they have a waiting list. I try Corporate Love Machine, but they say, I can't be neutral, I must be Omni. And I learned that Anarchy Online is a faction battle between the Omni Corps and the clans. Basically, big businesses and wild warriors. Every NPC has mentioned this war so far, but in character creation, I chose neutral, which locked me off from a few things, so no guild for me right now. I could use the cash shop to buy a faction change for 1,350 coins, but they sell those in packs of 1,200, which cost $10, so I'd need to buy at least 2 packs or a much larger one. Phantom Rebellion are also recruiting. I add a waypoint to my map and try to follow it to the recruiting station. I even PM the guild leader and he says, yep, sorry, we're not a neutral guild. I return to the subway, kill a thief, find a handbag and return it to the lady. But the game seems to have glitched and the NPC doesn't doesn't recognize it, or me. So I have to drop the quest, re-accept it, then hand it in. I go to explore the main plaza, find a line of guilds recruiting bots standing on the raised garden, all yelling, all holding signs and rocking frosted tips like it's the late 90s, the others wearing biker helmets looking like a Daft Punk tribute band. I head to the transport hub and chat to the group of players there. They're not very helpful. There's a cool map on the wall and I run into a transport pod to be whisked away to this place, the Omni Trade District. This is where those vibes kick in. I have no idea where I am, but it looks awesome and I'm kind of enjoying being here, even if I am very lost. I find this basic store, buy some sleeves, then discover I'm not agile enough to put them on, but I wasn't warned about that before I bought them. So I return to the main hub, ask if anyone has any advice, and I'm told to assign my skill points and grind the subway. I even looted a gun from a mugger in the subway earlier, but I can't equip it because I need a full auto skill of 21, an assault rifle skill of 24, and a burst skill of 19. That's 3 separate skills needed to equip a basic rusty gun I got from a basic enemy. I'm playing this for a video review, but be honest, if you were 5 hours in and told you needed 3 separate skills to equip the most basic weapon from the first enemy, would you keep playing? I'd chat around some hub zone NPCs and find that some of them even have voice acting.
I tell you, the shuttles are never on time.
You're headed out the gates, right? Unsure about where to go?
The clans don't support war,
awesome.
they support peace.
I love it.
But sometimes conflict is required before justice. The clans don't support war, they support peace. But sometimes conflict is required before justice can be done.
I chat to this NPC in the starting zone and answer a multiple choice questionnaire in the clunkiest dialogue box way possible, and they suggest I join the scientists, so I head over to the transport pod that she mentioned, but I can't use it because I need the Shadowlands expansion to go there. Imagine a new player being told, yes, your life of exciting scientific discovery awaits, just to be met with, but not without the paid expansion. Get out of here, you little rascal. Right out of the gate. This hologram then tells me to go and ask about daily missions at the holodeck tower, so I head on over. This sign says, shift-click me for info. It tells me to visit one of the faction main cities to get a daily mission. Either Old Athen for the clans, or Rome Blue for the Omnicorps. Because I'm neutral, I can choose either. But how do I get to either of these places? Well, I ask in the world chat, and that's no help. So I check the wiki, and that's no help either. But I find a transport map showing I can shuttle to Omni Trade, then Castle Galloway, then Rome. And I assume Rome Blue is going to be there. So I daisy chain myself over, but the game still says I'm in the wrong area. This is just Rome, not Rome Blue. So I just enjoy the vibes for a bit, go for a swim in the lake, enjoy the liminal energy of an empty main city, then head back to the main hub. I'm reading around and every guide, every player I can find to talk to is telling me to either buy a level 200 boost and join a guild to do the fun content, or grind the subway until level 25. That is my level grinding area right now. But how much would that level 200 boost cost? Well, if you're playing on Steam, £84, nearly $100. I even find a weapon shop but can't afford anything. I explore the hologram tower and enjoy the funky jazz they've got going on. Finally, I just accept that I need to grind the subway, and while grinding the subway, let's just have a read of some reviews. Anarchy Online is an old game, but honestly, MMOs aren't what they used to be. This game gives those same feelings. You just have to give it a chance and look past the graphics. The depth is insane. I used to love this game. Great community, amazing atmosphere, several really original concepts, some of them unsurpassed to this day. Hot swap twinking anyone? But that was decades ago. Literally. It is a miracle that the game is still running today, but is it really worth it to revisit the nostalgia? Honestly, I don't think it is. The very first thing you see after you create your character and enter the world is a message to pay money for power leveling. Funcom's non-traditional fantasy MMORPGs like this one and Secret World Legends are just something else. Even after all this time, Anarchy Online is a captivating experience that somehow holds up despite its dated graphics and overall clunkiness. Perhaps like with the old Gothic, once you get into the rhythm of the game, you realize it's less clunky than it initially seems to be. The game and themes are basically transhumanism, space, and technology. For example, if you like the Deus Ex series, you might like the vibe a lot. A great game past its prime. Miss it. I just can't recommend this game anymore. If you play it free. This game truly defined a genre, and there is no other game like this one. If you're a game dev, perhaps pay for a month and see what you can learn from it on what to do and what not to do. It breaks my heart to leave this review this way. I've left the original review below. Man, I miss this game. There is really no MMORPG like Anarchy Online. Anarchy Online has so much depth and complexity. Even after 20 years, there are some systems people don't understand the exact math and science behind it. I've been in this subway for hours. I've killed a floating eye Lovecraftian enemy, a beggar, a vagabond. I've found a long black trench coat and now look like I've tried to reshoot The Matrix with only $15 in a dream. I get this is a grindy, hardcore, system-heavy game, but when every guide and every player says new players should spend hours in the subway grinding, how do you expect to keep those new players when your game is opening with beating up homeless people as a drifting sci-fi murder hobo? I live in London. If I wanted to see drugged-out homeless people get into fights with mentally ill people in the subway, I'd just go and stand in the subway. So here's my problem. Games like Anarchy Online do have an audience. There are people out there who want deep systems and long grinds with archaic UI and clunky interfaces. Take board games. There are people who enjoy those super heavy Euro games with thousands of bits and hours of setup. Now, they're not mainstream, but hey, if you and some mates have fun playing the campaign for North Africa, go ahead. There is a demand for these types of games. But the demand comes from a more old school MMO player base. The people who want this style of game do exist, but they aren't plentiful enough to fill up every game that we now have like this. And because newer players, or gamers new to the MMO genre as a whole, were brought in by games like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV or The Elder Scrolls Online, they find it hard to transition back to the gameplay of yesteryear. And it's just not cost effective to keep updating the onboarding for that new audience because it's not long-term effective, because Anarchy Online knows the audience it's going for is an older audience, people who like EverQuest and argue over Kirk versus Picard. It's Picard, by the way. I guess it's just sad to watch these kind of games age into obscurity because they were, at one point, a great virtual hangout space. They're just not a very good modern video game. And as the amount of virtual hangout spaces we have increases, the value of these games to the mainstream audience has decreased. This mugger constantly runs into the sloped wall while shooting at me, and I've realized if you cursor over your health bar, for some reason the final number is dropped onto a lower line. So it's not 105 out of 25, then 9. It should be 105 out of 259. But it isn't. And this isn't a horizontal spacing issue because the other bar does this too, and that's wider. Small issues like this not being fixed in a game this old is embarrassing. Anyone who tells me Anarchy Online is amazing has to answer the question, then why does it start with several hours of killing dogs in a subway? I discover you can't use first aid kits on yourself unless you're sitting down, and then discover if you switch weapons and keep moving, you don't do the run animation again and instead just glide over the floor like a fat Neo on a hoverboard late for a rehearsal of Starlight Express. I find some leather pants but can't put them on because my sense score isn't high enough. Then I beat up this striking worker. He drops his massive steel bar weapon called the Support Beam of Intolerance, but I can't equip it because of all the skills, my psychology skill is too low. It's a big bit of metal, but I must return to town and read up on how hot Sigmund Freud's mum was before I'm cultured enough to equip a bit of metal. I'm meant to be a martial artist. That's my class. Was the art sticking macaroni shapes to paper, then eating the glue? Then I level up and for some reason begin running really slowly. No idea why. I didn't change anything. This leads to a sideways, slow-mo, pregnant-looking Neo running into an abandoned subway tunnel, and then in true Steven Seagal fashion, after a short jog, I just die. This respawns me outside the sewer. This is a sci-fi game. I want to do sci-fi things, not play murder hobo in the subway. So I catch a shuttle, the planet of Tyr, accidentally attack a city guard and get killed instantly. Not going back here again. Back at the hub, I decide I'm just going to run west, leave the spaceport and journey into the open wilderness, and amazingly you can do that. The open world is massive. There's just nothing there. I will again stand by this game having the vibes though. The view from the top of the mountain, the ships in the sky, the spaceport behind me, the rolling hills. For the time it released, Anarchy Online was an absolute trailblazer. It's just not kept up with the times, and the science fiction of yesteryear is the normality of today. So I run into the forest outside town and get killed by a wolf. I'm not giving up quite yet. I really want to try a daily mission. So I check the shuttle port, and most of these need you to be in an organization to take them, or have the Alien Invasion or Lost Eden DLC. And if I can't reach Rome Blue, maybe I can reach Old Athen. This map shows a few linked connections, so I transport tube on over, daisy chaining myself again, and finally speak to a mission receptionist. They make me, and I'm not kidding, read the in-game terms and conditions of the faction I am joining, and I have to click I agree in the text box before heading to a side room to get the job. Yay for bureaucracy. So finally, what's my first mission? Maybe it's something sci-fi like steal a shuttlecraft, or find a laser gun, or bang a hot alien. But nope, it's go to the area just outside town and tidy up. Kill enemies and collect the trash they drop. You cannot promise me a deep, complex sci-fi adventure like no other, then start with 10 hours of homeless sewer fighting and then community cleanup. So how do I get to the war-torn valley to do this mission? That, dear viewer, is a great question, thanks for asking. In attempting to leave the city, I meet this new player guide, clearly an old tutorial which was never removed from the game. They give me a mechanical hint and again send me to kill some local bugs. By now I've killed so many bugs I qualify for citizenship and my desire to leave has intensified. The chat box lets me know that Brad Pitt has reached enlightenment, so well done, Brad Pitt. Then I finally manage to leave the city and find the outside enemies. I take one down, get one of 6 items needed for my daily quest, then take on a more difficult guy and get buzzsawed to death. But because I forgot to change my respawn hub, I respawn all the way back at the main hub. I think it's fair to say that Anarchy Online is a relic of what it once was, a time when MMO games survived off their community, the social connections, the interpersonal politics of the players lending the overall appeal of the game. And you can see those systems which many years ago would have facilitated that. Guilds, amazing music, lovely ambience, a huge open world, lots of customization, a nice place to be. But a new player joining doesn't get that. They have to navigate with the game's systems primarily. Menus, travel, transport, trade skills, combat, implants, and even when I tried to talk to people, I was in the wrong faction to get help. Sci-fi is one of my favourite genres, but the strength of sci-fi is allowing an ordinary person to be placed into an extraordinary circumstance and seeing the truth of humanity excel and succeed. I don't even need flashy starship dogfights or crazy time travel plots. I actually prefer the older Star Trek episodes like Measure of a Man to any of the more modern films. But to have a sci-fi game and start with 15 hours of kill homeless people in a subway, then go into a forest and kill enemies to collect rubbish, doesn't leave the best first impression in a sci-fi way. Anarchy Online sounds amazing. It has moments of immaculate vibes and deep, complex systems, but so would a rave on a sinking submarine. And unless you're with people you really, really like or were always here anyway, you're not going to want to spend a huge amount of time in either. So to end the review, I will award Anarchy Online immaculate vibes on a dying planet. Out of 10. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and our Discord. And as always, have a great day.